I think the hardest thing about building anything, especially if you're trying to build it fast, if you have like a deadline, even if it's a self-imposed deadline, isn't necessarily the code. It's when you hit a wall, and this wall could directly affect your user. And then you have to ask yourself, do you push through with what you know, what you've already built, that you've spent time building? Or two, do you stop immediately? Learn that thing that's completely new, that you haven't touched before, because you know that this can set your project up and make your users happy in the long run. And I chose option 2. So this video is kind of twofold. Basically, I'll go over how I learned something fairly quickly using multiple different resources, but also I want to also share with you how I came to this decision, which was kind of hard to do. And we'll find out if it was the right call or not. So if you're not familiar with my journey, I am building a content automation tool. This one was inspired from several marketing videos that I took. Not videos, but webinars from SCORE, which is they basically help small businesses with marketing. I had this need when I was freelancing as a tutor and a freelance web developer. So basically, it's to automate my content calendar, which is in a spreadsheet, allowing for me to use a social media strategy, also with an AI crew that uses this strategy and certain guidelines for it to follow, so that the first draft of my posts don't sound canned, basically. And where I'm able to convert my long form content into posts, because I honestly, I don't like posting very much. I just need a little nudge. And so this crew, as well as my content calendar, which I've already built, they're self-contained. I had my content calendar working in Streamlit. It works beautifully. And I currently have my crew in Jupyter Notebook, in a Jupyter Notebook. And my idea was to have these two things separate. So in October, I was going to use the content calendar, which again is in a spreadsheet, and my crew separately. Now, it is very, very manual. You have to, it's not as manual as it was before, but to copy what my crew outputs, I have to paste it into my calendar. And I realized that this sucked after the first week of doing it. I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm just not going to do it. So I know that if it's going to suck for me, it's also going to suck for my users too. So the problem is I need to hook up my crew to this calendar and have it output what I need it to output into the spreadsheet itself. I don't want to do it. I do not want to do it manually. So this had me thinking over a week ago, how can I hook this up? Do I try to do all this in Streamlit? I'm also running into an issue with Streamlit as well. So, it's kind of, I kind of came to the decision, okay, I need to figure this out fast. I basically have a contract that's going to be ending, and so time is a ticking. And so I did some research and I realized, okay, what I really need is to build out an API. I can then connect it directly to my spreadsheet. In this case, I'm using Google Sheets for this. And Google Sheets allows you to add an app extension. So I could just connect to my API. I could also keep my Streamlit UI and just connect it to my API. So there's also that option. So I had to make the call. I had to decide, okay, what should I use? Do I use Fast API? Do I use a web framework? I decided on the web framework. So I had to learn Flask, and I had to learn it fast. And so here's where the strategy comes in. If you want to learn something absolutely quickly, my advice is to have a project that you definitely want to build, right? And you have to set a deadline for yourself. Whether it's self-imposed or it's an actual drop-dead date, then so be it. So for me, I decided to go directly to the source. I went to Flask documentation, and they actually had a tutorial on building a blog. Now, the reason why I did this is I wanted to get used to working with the framework, building something, seeing what methods, how to connect the views with the database. So I wanted to kind of get like a nice overview of what Flask is capable of. That took me about 4 days. Mind you, I am working full-time. I have a family, and I also freelance as a tutor. I also have all this stuff. Now, if you have the free time, this probably won't take you 4 days. But I don't. I only fit this in the morning when I have the chance. Then I had to find a course or tutorial that would walk me through how to create a REST API, and quickly. That didn't hold my hand and teach me the basics, because I already know the basics of Python. I understand enough web development, so I just needed something to push me in the direction of actually creating a REST API in Flask. So I did find a course on LinkedIn Learning. I was able to take it for free because I have a library card, and this is one of the things they provide for you, is the ability to take learning courses through LinkedIn. The thing is that this course was from 2019, which in tech time is super old. Not that that's necessarily a problem. It's just you have to be very cognizant that there might be some issues with the code. So my process is that I will pause the video every time a new library was introduced or that's needed for the API. I look on PyPy. I try to determine if one, is it valid? Is it a valid library I can download? Then I look at its GitHub repos. I basically determine, are they been maintained? When was the last time they were updated? And how many issues are there? I will even, depending on how many issues there are, I'll open up the issues tab and actually review the kind of issues that it's having. If there's any open pull requests, I'll look at those sometimes to see, okay, has someone solved a really major problem? It just hasn't been pushed to the code yet. Sometimes I'll go ahead and use the library, even if it does have a major issue. I can basically I can basically make the change myself and fix the problem if someone has already done it, and just, I'm not going to wait for someone to push something. Another thing I do, especially if there's some change to the code, like say a library method has changed and it causes an error, I'll go ahead and use GitHub Copilot or Claude Code even to ask it to help me with certain errors, especially if the tutorial hadn't addressed it. Because there's really no shame in asking, Copilot to actually review your code, because sometimes there could be an update in the library that was recent that wasn't applicable from the actual course. But this LinkedIn Learning course is actually pretty awesome because it also introduced a couple of different software to build APIs. One of the things I used was Postman, DB Browser for SQLite, and Mailtrap. And it was very interesting seeing how the instructor used these tools, and I immediately saw instant value because this is something I can use to test my API once I get it working. So I got my tutorial API to work, which is awesome. So now I'm at a great point to actually start implementing it on my project. And then this past week, I'm having issues with my Anaconda environment for my crew, my AI crew. So I'm kind of dealing with that too. And I'm kind of having this thing like, okay, did I just waste a week when my crew have basically stopped working? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm back to square one or not, but I feel like, I'm not, because I now know how to build an API, how to test it. Once I get it built, I'll be able to connect it to my Google Sheet if I want to, or maybe just combine it with the code for my content calendar generator. So, I have different avenues, even though, if this doesn't work, I will have gained the skill set of actually building an API. And the idea really is to use this framework so that I can use it to actually build out the full app, even if I still continue to use Streamlit. Or if I just decide, okay, well, maybe I won't use Streamlit, I'll just use it within the sheet. So I have a lot of options here. But basically the idea is, even if you detour, you have to look at both sides of the coin. One, maybe you did waste some time to learn a framework, but if you gain something out of it, whether it's something to put on your resume, maybe a new service you can offer your clients, you're learning something. On the flip side, on the side that you probably want it to happen for you, is that it makes your app more usable, more user-friendly, more usable for you on the back end. So you have to look at it in two ways. Did I waste time with this detour? Maybe. But I felt like the benefits outweighed this loss. Because not only am I learning a new tool, a new framework, I know that it can definitely offer better solutions in the long run. So you have to kind of ask yourself, okay, when do I know I need to stop and learn something versus pushing forward, just, going 100 miles an hour. You have to ask yourself, okay, will this tool actually unlock something fundamentally better with your user experience? Can you learn it fast enough? For me, I feel like I did. I proved that I can learn it within about a week or so. And then, does it give you the skills that you can use again on another project? And the answer is yes. APIs are fundamental in this world of web development. So next week, I'm going to actually build out the API. And wish me luck. So hopefully you found a little bit of tips on how to learn something really fast. Again, I recommend going directly to the source. Go to the documentation of whatever framework you're trying to learn. Take whatever tutorials they have, because they know best, obviously. Another thing is, if you're using an old tutorial, you're going to have to do your due diligence. That's just the way it is. There are great older courses and tutorials out there. Then you're going to do a little bit of legwork, obviously, to make sure that it's up to date enough. Another thing is, I'm hoping that this kind of helps you out if you are in a weird spot where you don't know if you're building something the way you should. The kind of questions that you should ask yourself is, one, whether the user will experience joy, I guess, in using your product, or find it too tedious to even fiddle with it. And if you are having that issue fiddling with it, then your users are most likely going to feel the same way. You just kind of have to put yourself in their shoes. Anyway, if you found this video informative, if it helped you at all, just give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think, about pausing on building something, or when you've gone halfway through of whatever you build or whatever you're learning and decide to do a detour and learn something else. What made you do that? Is it worth the time and effort to stop and learn something that might help you in the future? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. All right. I hope you see you next time. And if you found this stuff great, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. All right. Till next time, friends.